In today's video, I want to talk about CM3 and the things that I experienced, the things that I saw, and give it a post-discussion wrap-up, kind of the same way that I did with the Gemini Cup. And so we'll go ahead and just at least start with what I brought to CM3. I took a late surger Vodka or Vodka. I took a pace chaser El Condor Pasa, and I took a front-running Smart Falcon. So with these three characters, the majority of the time it was gonna be my El Condor Pasa who was actually getting my wins. Then there would be other times where it would be Vodka getting the wins, and then it would be Smart Falcon on the lower end getting the rest of my wins. Now, when it comes to round one or the qualifiers, it was kind of relatively the same as the Gemini Cup, and this was a little bit interesting, a little bit perplexing to me, because as time goes on, I would assume that, okay, maybe there would be a little bit more information, maybe we would be a little bit more used to the game, maybe we would have potentially better sparks, potentially a little bit more. But what I was seeing was relatively the same thing as I saw in the Gemini Cup, which was people were either having the correct stats, but then they'd have the way left field wrong skills, or they would have the correct skills and be vastly like under for the stats. And so a lot of those things I'd be running into, and it just kind of came down to if they just had a little bit of the other, or if they had a little bit more of skills, then it would have been like relatively crazy going up against these people. Now, I cannot speak for the entirety of the server, right? I can only speak about what I experienced, what I played against, and what I saw and what I raced against, right? So I'm not saying this applies to everybody. However, this is just my personal take. And so while y'all's takes may be different from what I experienced, please let me know down in the comment sections below, because one, I want to see, did y'all run into relatively the same thing that I did, or did y'all fight or race against vastly different things? So on top of the mismatch skills or the mismatch stats, one other thing that I noticed is, and this probably will be a separate video, so if you're watching it now, you're gonna get a head start on it. Mid-game skills are so important. And so I would see a lot of people playing for the Let's Pump Some Iron 6th place. I'd see people that would have the same sky, and they'd be chasing after trying to win 1st place. So getting the angling and scheming, or that Pump Some Iron with that Megid Orion skill. And what I would see is, when I took a look at their skills, there would be no mid-game skills. So how would you, if you're fighting for that 1st place position, if you're in 2nd, how would you push forward to secure that lead for that 1st place? If you were fighting for 6th place, how would you push forward if you have nothing that's getting you to that position to let you land in 6th place? And of course, with it being the global server that doesn't really believe in wit, that doesn't really care for the pace ups, it really comes down to, if you're not going to get your pace ups and you're not going to rely on that, how are you going to get into your win condition for those skills? And so a lack of mid-game skills, the ramp up, slipstream, tail held high, the corners, for some tracks it may be the straights, things of that nature, that really hurt a lot of the players that I went against and that I noticed. And so a lot of my wins were really based around those things. Now, of course, I also ran into so many rooms where, now this could just be time constraint and I'm not going to hate on that, a lot of the characters that I ran into were made over a month ago. There were some people running August characters or September characters, like early September. And so it just kind of came down to the fact of, like, maybe the people that I faced against didn't really want to play, or they didn't have the time to play, or they just didn't have the resources to create a good UMA for this cup. And so while I did have a bunch of easy lobbies, there were definitely lobbies where I straight up lost to, and I was like, hey, I'm not mad losing to this one. Had way more stats, had very good skills, and they just won outright. That's totally fair. But a majority of people, I think, were, aside of just not making the character, when I did see people make a front runner, and let's say it was with groundwork, they would take like such weird green skills. I would see like sympathy, I would see long shot, like I don't really know in what world why you would take that, because you have other greens that just solidify, proccing your groundwork immediately. Or I also saw the opposite, where you may have groundwork and then you just don't have any greens. Or you may have one green and like a focus and that's it. And so now you have groundwork, but it's not proccing. And so a lot of those front runners just basically lost before the race even started. And so those were kind of the things that I was seeing as far as the qualifiers for CM3. Now, as we pushed into the semifinals, it was very oddly enough, I was still kind of going against relatively the same thing. However, people were making these Umas like relatively recent, but I would still see the, oh, we may have 3 greens and then we don't have the groundwork. Or I'd have groundwork and like 2 greens, and then maybe I'm banking on focus, but now you're having 2 wit checks rather than 1. And so a lot of those things kind of made it a bit unfortunate for them, very nice for me. Another thing that I would notice is that in the semis, they would have like very good stats and then bring like very awkward skills. So like they had more than enough stamina and they're bringing Swinging Maestro. They had more than enough speed and power, and it's like a very awkward place to just like put Beeline Burst in. And so, you know, I would understand if they're taking these skills as like, oh, I have nothing else to buy. Okay, perfectly fine. But for the majority of it, it was just very like, I'm not 100% sure what kind of went on there. And so we're just gonna move on. At the very least though, for the majority of people, when it came to the semis, they at least did have relatively good stats. It was just now like that skill check of, do I have the right skills? Did I buy the right skills? Am I playing to my win conditions? And so that was something that I had noticed very much so when it came to the semis. The biggest elephant in the room that I do want to make mentions of is the Blockmachine, the blocker Sakura Bakushin. Now, let me preface this. Some people will find success with that. The majority of people will not. Now, there begs to be a lot of questions when we take a look at the Blockmachine. Now, if you're in my Discord server, you already know we farmed every single blocker. Like, it was chef's kiss, the sweetest victory of like, oh, this is a blocker, all right, cool, we just gonna go to the next one. It's a free win. The blockers itself, one thing that doesn't make sense that was brought up and I thought was a really good point, was you have 20% speed growth rate, and we are not playing to it. We are playing to the power and the wit. And I get it, sure, that like enables you to block, okay, but here's a rebuttal question. I have 3 slots to bring my character. I have 3 potential win conditions. Why would I take out 33% of a win condition and now put myself at a 66% chance to win? That's just one question for a rebuttal. Now, debuffers, that's a really big hit or miss situation, because you could also say a blocker could be a debuffer. A debuffer could be a, you know, potential blocker because I'm stopping you, I'm blocking you from either making it all the way and potentially gassing you out, or I'm slowing you down to where it's relatively the same thing. However, for me, for my Discord server, we farmed the ever-loving snot out of the blockers, so that was really easy for us. The biggest thing I think with the blockers that may be like very attractive or that may be very easy is like, oh, I just gotta worry about wit power. Maybe I don't need to worry about the actual speed stat itself. However, you still need to build groundwork, you still need the 3 greens, you still gonna need the mid game, you still gonna need the angling and scheming, so that way, you know, you could potentially block that off from somebody. You have every part of the win, and then you just don't go speed. I don't know. I don't understand it. I will never claim to like promote the blockers. I would rather just go for something that will let me win rather than stopping someone else from winning. And so while I said, like I said, there will be some success for some people who build it properly and take the time to really hone all in on it. However, for me, for my Discord server, We farmed it. We were thankful every time we saw a blocker. Now, from my experience on CM3, round 1 was the first time that I got my ever first win 5 win tickets. And then when round 1 was over and the qualifiers were done, I went into the semis and I was like, okay, maybe there's a world where I don't get these wins and maybe like I'm just getting lucky. Then when it came time to go for the semis, I still got 5 wins. I was like, okay, wow, like this is pretty cool. It was like really cool to see like I was actually winning. But then as I took a look, continually taking a look at the characters, I'm running into blockers. I'm running into people who don't have the groundwork complete. We have no mid-game skills. And I'm like, oh, okay, it completely makes sense why I'm winning. Even in the times where let's just say my pace chaser wins, okay, yeah, that's totally fine. My pace chaser wins because maybe there's 2 fronts and then she's just able to push forward and then she gets that first, second place and then boom, we're cooking. Maybe my vodka lands into 6th place and she zooms through. Cool, we're cooking. There were just obviously different win conditions for every different composition that I played against, whether it be a lot of fronts, whether there be a lot of late surgers, maybe a couple end closers, whatever it may have been. It felt like it was relatively strong for me, and so I was able to play around those accordingly. And while my Smart Falcon had the lowest win rate, that was still perfectly fine because she did her job. She would win when she needed to run against fronts. She would get the angle and scheming. Or if there were not that many fronts, my Pasa would come in and just absolutely murk everybody and just hold first place and just win. And then of course the Gamba with the late surgers, that Wodka getting those dubs was very sweet and very, very nice. I think all things considered, when we take a look at it as a whole, for my experience of CM3, this is one of the lowest effort that I put into it, but the efforts that I did put into it were very honed and very specific, and so a lot of information and a lot of help was given to me from my Discord server. And so if you're interested, even if it's the open grade or whatever it's called, like the B League and below, we have people in the Discord server who are running that and they're optimizing, they're racing against each other, things of that nature, and they are doing very well. They've been winning a lot. And then also for the people who are not doing that, they're running like the B+ and above, or the anybody can run rank league. A lot of us have been going in and we're like, okay, let's theory craft, let's make sure we get our stuff in order. You know, we have a lot of great people who are helping so much in the Discord server as well, whether it's people helping with testing, whether it's people writing guides, whether it's any sorts of thing. A lot of great information is in the Discord server, and that is why I was able to get so many wins. Now, I will meme a lot, and I always try to lower my expectations, so I'll say, like, yeah, I had a 7% win rate. Obviously, I didn't have a 7% win rate. I had like a 72, 73%, give or take, but the majority of that was just because of the information from my Discord. So if you are interested in being a bit more competitive, or you want to have solid info, I highly recommend joining the Discord. Even if you're just lurking, even if you're just reading, even if you want to ask questions and just kind of understand more, there's so many great people in there that are super helpful and are very knowledgeable about the game. And so that is where the majority of my win came from, was my Discord server, was my community. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you join if CMs are what you care about. If you care about just the game in general, just having fun, the Umas, the stories, you know, the everything else, definitely should also join, because we got a lot of that good stuff too. And that is gonna be the wrap up for the CM3 for me. How did your CM3 go? Did you win? Did you go into the B and below league? How did you perform there? What Umas did you take? Was there any trends that you noticed? Did you like the blocker, or did you stay away from it? Did you lose to blockers, or did you farm them? I know for me, I most of the time farmed blockers, and actually blockers helped me win against people I shouldn't have, and you know, I'll definitely take that. Sure, keep running them. The other thing, I know there was one time in particular I lost and there was a blocker in the lobby, but do we count it as a loss when I late started and missed groundwork, and then there were a bunch of fronts and I did not get 6th place, so all my win conditions just got destroyed? I don't know if you want to count that as a loss to a blocker. or just me losing. You can deal with that however you wish to deal with that. But let me know down in the comment sections, how was CM3 for you? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Did you have enough prep time? Let me know. I really want to see what it was like for you. Also, if you enjoy content like this, whether it be Uma Musume, Chaos Zero Nightmare coming up, or any other games in the future, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it, and it would mean the world to me and help me out so much. Also, if you're on mobile, be sure to hit that hype button so that way more people can see this video if you found it very helpful or very interesting. Here is a massive shout out to all my current channel members. Thank y'all so much for the support. It really means the world to me. Thank you so very much. And last but not least, be sure to share this video with your friends, with your family, and with your friends' family, so that way we can all talk about CM3 and how we felt and what we saw, and then use that and go forward. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.